Yeah, I love Lee. He's a good friend.
Actually, I've been meeting up with Lee in VR
Oh,
chat.
have you? Man.
Yeah.
He's been trying to get me into that. He's been telling me I got to get a headset.
Dude, you have to. It's so great. Like, I mean, since we can't go out and have shows in real life, it's like, I know VR headset is pricey, but you don't really need one. Maybe it's just to listen to the music itself. But the acts that they have at some of these events, like Loner, Shelter, actually, those are the only two I've been to so far. But overall, they're just so great. They're so amazing.
Does it feel like a real space? Like that's what Lee was sort of selling it to me as is, in this time where we can't really go anywhere, that it actually feels like you're going to a place and there are other people in that space. He was saying it was kind of this really cool replacement for when you can't actually be physically with other people.
Yeah. I would like to vouch because it actually is like, without all the, well, it's basically like shows with an exit button, easy exit button, basically. But yeah, so far, it's almost like the real thing. In fact, like a lot more immersive concerning the music, but like, it's not, it's literally just tricking your brain into thinking that you are there as and there's presences of people around you, and it's been a great networking tool for me, especially because I've gotten to meet a bunch of Monster Cat artists that I'm into. I've met Lee. I met Porter Robinson actually.
Oh, there you go.
As well. Yeah,
he's just hanging out there in the VR space.
Yeah. He loves that stuff.
Of course he does.
There's actually a picture. There's actually a picture of Porter Robinson using his Quest on an airport, and I thought that was pretty funny.
That's great. Oh man.
Really wants to be plugged into the machine.
Yeah, exactly. Have you been to a lot of actual physical like festivals or events? Because I was thinking about, the what I know of the scope of your career, and it seems like you're only just now starting to get into, to being plugged in with that whole scene.
Yeah, I can literally count on my fingers how many shows I've been to. 5, and to be honest, I've not really gone to that many, and it's been great to like play a few shows as well. But yeah, I think most of my life, I've not really been as connected to the whole lifestyle of going to gigs with your friends on the regular, because my friends and I never really did that kind of stuff. I don't know what it was. I never heard, my friends weren't just the type to like go to a show or see an artist that they like. I think it was mainly because they couldn't afford it or were just really young at the time. But yeah, ever since I moved out of my parents' house and went to university and, just started to discover who I am slowly, I've been trying to go to as many shows as possible. And it's been sick. It's been a really good experience for me.
Have there been any you saw that really changed your perception of what the live show is or what it could be? Either for the experience of it or even thinking about your future live shows?
Yeah, I have actually. I was, so the first show that I attended was a big one. It was Maddie and Porter Robinson on their Shelter tour. Like that was a real eye-opener for me because it was the first time, actually the second time I've ever been to London, first of all. And while I was now? There, I'm in Sheffield right now, oh, okay. Where I was, where I grew up. Yeah, I went to London for the second time in my life. And got to meet like a few of my music friends. And, the whole experiencing that live show for the first time for me has inspired me not only in the style of music that I will make, but just to have something to aspire to, just having like personal goal of this is what I want to do with my own shows when I start playing them. I want to get better at this and that, whether it's DJing, playing an instrument live, or even public speaking, because I struggle with public speaking a lot.
Right.
I remember I was opening for Trulu in London, and I'm still a novice to to playing shows. I don't know things like how to introduce myself or how to keep the show going if I mess up, because I messed up several times in that set. First of all, there were 3 CDJs. One wasn't working, and I kept forgetting that one doesn't work that well. So it kept messing up my transitions. So every time I fucked up, I was like, oh shit. I was visibly panicking on stage. And, but everyone was supportive. They clapped at the end because they were there for the music itself. And that is what it's all about in the end. It's all about the music. And, it's great that they could see past all the nerves I was displaying on stage, and just focus in on like what I've made or how I'm performing and whatnot.
Well, I think to me that's part of the magic of a live experience, because on the one hand, like if we take the 2 examples you just gave of you going to see Porter Robinson, which is like a legendary live show. His live show is so dialed in. It's visually stunning. It's like thought out from the first to the last second of the show. But on the other side of it, if we're talking about, you playing this opening slot and having a CDJ that doesn't work and things breaking and people watching you sort of sweat through it, there's magic in that too, because I think there's something about the connection you make with the crowd. And there's something about just everybody being in the same building, experiencing that same moment of, it messed up and we're watching it mess up. And we're all kind of participating in this awkward, fun moment. To me, that's beautiful too. Like the rhythms of interaction with a crowd, I think it's almost like an art form in and of itself.
Yeah, and it's raw, and everyone knows that you are actually mixing and doing everything that a DJ or a musician would do on stage,
Yeah.
So, it's not fake is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, it's definitely not fake. And I think once the crowd realizes, a lot of times for me, at least this is how I've internalized crowd interactions over the years, is that the crowd, they're kind of just looking to the person on stage to set the tone for whatever the level of show is going to be. And so, if I'm playing a show and I mess it up and something goes wrong, as long as you in some way communicate that to the people and be like, oh, what you gonna do? I think generally people are fine. They'll go along with that. I think the only time I have ever gotten in trouble with this kind of thing is when, you're too in your own head about it and you aren't sort of interacting with them even as something is going wrong, because then they can't tell what they're supposed to be doing,
Yeah.
So, for you, earlier you mentioned that you hadn't been to a bunch of shows because your friends, just that wasn't what you guys did together. It wasn't sort of the first thought was to go to all these shows. Were you all listening to the same kind of music? Was it like a shared passion?
No, I don't think so. Most of my friends, the only music that they were into was rap music and hip hop. So that was all I could listen to around them. But when I went off by myself, I I found a lot of comfort in electronic music, and it was the music that I resonated with the most. If I was to go to any show with my friends, it would most likely be like I remember one of my best friends was like really, really into Eminem.
Sure.
Like Eminem is all that he would listen to, and he still does today. And that's it wasn't really, I could get into hip hop, and I love trap music and all that stuff, but
yeah,
it becomes too much. And like I feel a lot more connected to electronic music. So if I had friends that were interested in the same thing, and another factor that actually stopped me from going to as many shows as possible was the fact that my parents were really, really strong Christians. So
yeah,
it was tough. I had to sneak music around my parents all the time. Like I had a really old Sony Ericsson Walkman phone that I would load with as many songs as possible. And then if my mom was around, I would take out the SD card with all my actual music on it. And what would be left would be all this Christian music. And every time I was around my parents just listening to music, I would always be listening to Christian music. And if they found anything else other than that, they would tell me to delete it.
That's really funny, man.
Yeah, it was quite a sheltered household that I was in.
Were you raised kind of in the church that way? Were you was church music some of your early, the first music you heard a lot?
Yeah, it actually was. I used to listen to this mixtape CD of different Christian artists called Aperitif, I think. Okay. It was the 23rd volume. I don't know if there were others, but it had all this Christian rap and R&B that I actually really liked. So I used to observe the musical notations of all that music, and it kind of influenced my sound as well. So yeah, you can say that Christian music also had an influence on what I make today and the general vibe of what I'm trying to go for when I actually sit down and write music.
Well, what is it about that kind of music or that just religious music in general? What part of it are we talking about that you sort of take with you or took inspiration from? Because I think, and I've talked about this on the show before, I mean, Christian music, and not even Christian music, religious music in general is very powerful music, right? There's a reason that these songs have lasted for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years. There's a certain power to that kind of communal singing. Some of it is very beautiful. What part of it was inspirational to you, or what do you maybe still carry with you about it?
Well, when I say Christian music, it was more, it's not like the older ones, but it was more you've heard of Hillsong, right?
Yeah.
It was stuff like that. It was just these independent Christian musicians trying to modernize Christian music, and they created their own. And I think what stood out to me the most about it was the modernizing. It was very close to my parents would call all the mainstream music we listen to circular music.
Oh yeah, secular, yeah.
Yeah. It was all the instrumentals of those songs were kind of connected to circular music in an instrumental sense. So I wouldn't focus on the actual message of what the song was. I would focus on what kind of drums they're using, what kind of melodies and notes and keys and chords that they're using, and what kind of genres and styles. I mentioned earlier that mixtape CD that I used to listen to all the time when I was younger was a mixture of R&B and hip hop and some other reggae as well.
Okay.
Just a mixture of all sorts of things. but yeah, I know we're talking about like we're talking about it in a religious sense, but my brain was listening to all the instrumentals instead of the actual message.
Of course. Yeah. I mean, which is funny because, I think a lot of modern religious music is made to sound like the pop music of today, right?
Yeah.
But it's funny that kids. What you took from it is just the music side of it. Was this all when you had already moved to the UK? When a lot of this formative music stuff was going on?
Yeah, I could say that. When I'm originally from Zambia in Africa. While I lived there, I have a very faint memory of what kind of music we were listening to there. But like the most I can remember is stuff that they played on the radio. Mostly I had an older adopted sister, right? And it was mostly I was hearing what she was playing on the radio at the time. And it was a lot of, I don't know, like 50 Cent, Westlife, so many other things. Like there were all these local Zambian artists like JK as well. And I'm out of touch with that music scene.
Of course.
Yeah, it was a lot of local artists and 50 Cent and just whatever was on mainstream radio at the time.
What brought about the move to the UK? Like, why did you end up landing here?
I think my dad just found a job here, and his old job was working in the mines as a manager, not like the actual person that goes down.
Sure.
And, like he would occasionally go down and oversee like all the people that actually have to go in and, do all the dirty work. And I think he was at risk of some disease. I forget what it was. So
it's an intense job, man.
Yeah. So they had to, he was like, nah, this isn't it. I should find something else. And, just the base, the other reason was just like basically every other person migrating to a different country, just a better life and better opportunities. And I can say that I'm like actually ripping the benefits. So I would like to thank my dad for actually like making that choice. Like I have no idea what my life would have been like if I stayed there. But I'm just very appreciative that I've found something here after the move, and it's been one of the best things I've ever gotten to do. I'm really grateful that I'm able to do music as my full-time job now. Like I'm like literally in my own apartment right now, which I never thought I would be able to do by this time, and through music as well. So it's been a very beneficial move.
It's beautiful, man. All of what you just said is beautiful. Do you remember, I'm curious, when you moved, when you were a kid, what you thought of the move? Like, were you excited to go to a new place? Do you remember like when you first got to the UK, was there a certain level of just weirdness or culture shock? Do you remember what it was like?
I do. It was too cold. That's the first thing. That's the first thing I noticed. But my parents explained to me as a kid that, we're moving to a place called the United Kingdom and it's this and that and this. And my dumbass thought it was America for some reason. I don't know why.
That's great.
That was I had to learn the hard way that it was not America. It was Europe.
Right.
But I had no concept of what Europe was at the time. So, made the move, and the first thing, obviously, weather. Back home, it's really nice and warm every day. The sun is always out, but here it's miserable. I'm not gonna lie, it's fucking miserable. Gray skies every day. And sun like for a few months and then that's it. Like, no, this is this is
Yeah.
not it.
Yeah.
But yeah, that like just getting adjusted to a different place, different culture was challenging. I actually had trouble speaking English because, you know, Zambian, obviously. We speak a language called Bemba over there, or at least that's what my mom speaks. That's from her side. My dad's side of the family speaks Nyanja, which is like, so both of those languages sound the same, but it's a different dialect. It's
Sure.
like, what two languages sound similar?
Like Brazilian and Portuguese, kind of.
Yeah, something similar to that. Damn, I was gonna say German and Austrian German or something.
Yeah, I'll take that. That works.
yeah. That's what it's similar to. And you know, I had to learn how to speak English properly. I had to pick up the accent as well.
Right.
The accent was the toughest one. Actually, one funny thing as well. The fact that I thought that this might have been America at first, I was speaking to everyone like in an American accent, and they were just scratching their heads. They're like, "What's wrong with this guy? Does he know where he is?" But yeah, they could probably excuse me because, you know, I'm from a different country. I'm just adjusting, and you know, it was a process. It was quite the process.
And how did, you know, in all of this, you know, growing up listening to Christian music and your sister, you know, giving you some pop music and all of that, do you remember how electronic music entered your life at first? Like, how were you even exposed to it?
Oh man. So I'm at a supermarket with my mom, and she's like, okay, I'm going to grab something really quickly. Do you want to come with? I'm like, no, I'll just stay in the car. And she's like, okay, I'll turn on the radio for you. Just leave it playing if you want. And then I was like, yeah, sure. See you later. And then I put on BBC Radio 1 and Bangarang by Skrillex comes on. But I didn't know what the song was called, or who this was, or I wasn't even paying attention to the like radio presenter saying, "This is Bangarang by Skrillex," and blah, blah, blah. I just heard the song for the first time. And like, I think if I'm being honest, my first reaction was like, what the fuck was that? Oh my God. That was the greatest thing I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah.
It was the most, like, I was really into, music that made you feel like a badass, rock music. Like before I listened to electronic music, I was really, really into punk music and rock and roll and, you know, all that stuff.
Yeah.
Heavy metal as well.
Same.
I was really into I was listening to a lot of music soundtracks. That was the kind of music that I used to put on that same memory card in that Walkman phone that I talked about earlier.
Right.
It was just full of that stuff. I used to listen. This is going to be cringe, but I used to listen to a lot of Sonic the Hedgehog soundtracks.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah. Like concerning video game soundtracks, it was just Sonic the Hedgehog, and most of those songs had like a rock style to them. And, you know, that's what got me into more artists like Bring Me the Horizon and what's that other one called?
There's a bunch in that vein.
Korn.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. A bunch of other people.
I had a big Korn phase. Yeah.
But yeah, first taste of electronic music was Bangarang by Skrillex that just came on the radio randomly.
Yep.
And then later, maybe in a few weeks after that, a couple of friends that I made at school were listening to early dubstep music like Excision, Datsik, and just a bunch of other people. They were just showing me all these UKF, they showed me UKF and a whole bunch of other dubstep artists, and I was just really into that. It was like what dubstep felt to me like heavy metal in overdrive, like an evolved version of heavy metal.
Yep.
And you can clearly see that some influences of heavy metal like tie very nicely into dubstep, and it's just really dubstep for me was like a very innovative sound for me. It was something I never heard of, but it was just something I connected with really instantly. And after that, I would spend most of my high school days during break time in the computer room, just browsing this website called Groove Shark.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
It was like similar to Spotify, but it was much, much shadier. Very, very shady, because they were doing things that should not be done in the music industry. They basically allowed people to upload any songs that they wanted, and other people could listen to those songs, and so on. So I think that platform got shut down because of that. But I have that platform to thank for letting me go down this dubstep rabbit hole. And then eventually I discovered SoundCloud through this animation community that I used to be in.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. I used to make a lot of animations. Like I used to be into those stick figure animations.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah, I really want, like, just all the olden days of Flash animations and YouTube and people just making all these weird animations. I wanted to learn how to do that.
Do you know Don Hertzfeld?
No.
He's an animator. After this call, I'll send you some links, man. He does these, he makes like short films with these sort of very crude animations that end up being, I mean, they're absurd and they're funny, but they also end up being like very emotionally moving. But no, all that stuff, man, the old Flash animations, I love that. And it's interesting that you are making them as well. Have you been somebody always who, anytime you see something, whether it's animation or hear a piece of music that you really like, that your next thought is, I want to try to do this, I want to be involved with it?
Dude, all the time. I see it. I used to sneak VHS tapes with my brother of Dragon Ball Z, and we'd watch them while our parents weren't around, and I would basically like pause the video and try to draw a frame of what I'm looking at. And
wow.
I've just always, whenever I hear, like you said, whenever I hear music, I have to attempt to make it. Whenever I see animation, I have to try my own version of it. Won't be the same as what I saw, but it'll be something,
Yeah. I mean, so when you hear Skrillex on the radio, was that the thing that makes you go, oh, I need to try to make electronic music? Or had you been already trying to make something on your own?
No. It was more like, just to listen, just for listening pleasure. But at the time, I really used to be into playing the piano, but I wasn't taking lessons or anything like that. It was more playing the keyboard in my church. Like after they had a service, just go to the front and start playing and just messing around. Eventually I got to play drums for my church, like the church that my parents were going to at the time. But then we moved to a different church. But they used to allow me to go to the front after church and just play the drums. And I didn't really know how music was made. So I at the time I wasn't like, oh, Skrillex. Okay, I'm gonna try and find out how to do this myself. I wasn't like that. But one day, one of my cousins visits from the US in Phoenix, Arizona, and she is a rapper as well. She's a Christian rapper.
Okay.
She's started being a preacher as well and a minister. But she used to rap a lot, like when she was 15, 16, 17, around that age. And she showed me a bunch of things that she, did some bars on, and then I was like, yo, who made this? Who made the track? Like, who did this? And he's like, oh, I've just got a friend who uses FL Studio. And then I was like, FL Studio, what's that? Oh, it's the software that he uses. I don't know what it is, but that's what he uses to make music. And after that, I just kept thinking, FL Studio, FL Studio, FL Studio. I should look at what this is, find out what it is, and just see if I can get into it. And yeah, I did. This is actually relevant as well because I recently tweeted back at, I don't know if you know, Romderful is a guy around my scene that makes like R&B, like he's really talented. He tweeted something about carrying FL Studio on a 1 gigabyte flash drive from school and then installing it on your parents' computer and then using it. That's exactly what I used to do. I would. So I went to school just thinking about FL Studio and then just got the demo and then I opened it up and I'm just like, when you open FL Studio for the first time, this project opens automatically and it gives you a barrage of plugins just being displayed on the screen as well. So it was very intimidating for my for my small young brain. I was just like, I saw it and then I pressed spacebar and then music was coming out of the software. I was like, how is this happening? What? I was seeing all the plugins moving and processing and doing things. I was like, yo, this is very, very intimidating. I was scared. I was scared to touch anything. I was even scared to close the program because I thought I might break it. So, that was the entry into making music that I had. And, as the years went by, just tried to keep using it. And, eventually I got the hang of it and then, just been sharpening my skills since. And now we're here. Ooh.
Yeah, now we're here, baby. I mean, it's interesting to think about sort of starting from that simple of a place where you just open it up and have no idea what any of it means. 0% of it. Was there any point getting to, where you're at now? Did you have any mentors? Was there anything that taught you a lot from a specific place? Or did you all just kind of piece it together as you went?
Okay, first off, I didn't have mentors unless you count YouTube.
Sure.
YouTube was my mentor. But yeah, it was mostly just watching as many tutorials as possible, like watching the basics. I think the person that carried my FL knowledge the most was Seamless R. Everybody in the FL community knows Seamless R.
Yeah.
He used to put up all these advanced sound design tutorials, and I still don't understand them today. They're very, very complex methods of sound design that he does. But that was, it was, I could take enough from those advanced videos to learn a thing or two along the way. So when I actually started getting serious about learning it, I started from the ground up. I just figured out how to put an effect on something, how to open an instrument, blah, blah, blah. And I think my knowledge can also, my growth in skill, in production skill, has also come from just engaging with the producer community in general, browsing as many artists as possible, finding as many artists as possible on SoundCloud and hitting them up, asking them, yo, how do they do this? How do you do this? How do you do that? Sometimes they wouldn't respond because, obviously there were big artists, way bigger than what I was aspiring to be. And, I just decided to go into, was this forum called Fluid Anims? And it was actually for that animation community that I mentioned earlier, but There was a section for music production. And I would go in there and ask questions like, how do you do this in FL? How do you make this sound? How do you do this and that? and someone would respond to you in the thread and show you. And, I would try it myself, learn something, and then do it again and again and again, and then pick up my own things along the way. Sometimes when I asked people questions, like I remember I asked, I don't know if you know this guy, this producer on SoundCloud called Mo Vibes. I just asked him for a small hint, like something like, how do you get that punch in your kick drums or something like that? And he would just give me like a small clue or just say saturation. That's it. That's the only word that he would say to me. And I wouldn't want to bother him anymore. So it's like, okay, cool. Let me Google what saturation is and how it can be applied. And then from that just that one word opened up a big world of production techniques for me to use and adapt from my own knowledge, because I already knew how to use FL Studio at maybe novice to intermediate level. So basically just YouTube, Seamless R, clues from other producers, forums.
Sure,
that's how I
online communities,
improve.
right? Is I think the overarching answer there, which is interesting, because I wonder, and there's a reason I'm asking all these questions about sort of how you developed into the artist you are now, which I'll get to in a second. But it's interesting to me to think about being isolated physically to a certain extent. If your friends weren't listening to this kind of music and you weren't going to shows and doing things in person, then it makes total sense that, this online community would sort of take the place of that. And I think you tell me if you think this is right or wrong, but to me, it makes sense in terms of your development as well, because I think right now in 2021, you're an artist who's hard to categorize. And it's hard to say exactly what kind of music you make or exactly where it fits in. And to me, that makes more sense if it's coming from sort of an online space that's a little more open and free flowing, as opposed to sort of a physical scene, where I think a lot of times with that, everyone ends up having kind of the exact same influences and everyone's sort of working in a similar vein, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes total sense.
Well, so I mean, talking about the present day and your current work and the fact that it is hard to categorize, this is sort of why I was asking all these questions. Like, I was listening to the Disconnect EP before I was coming to talk to you, and I really like it. And it's just interesting to me. There's all these sort of little references that almost sound like nods to a certain scene or a certain style or a certain idea, but it's always a very sort of just subtle, just a little sprinkle, and then you move on, and maybe it comes back later or maybe it morphs, but it's never a full on, I'm making this kind of song, or this is the style, this is the scene I'm planting my flag in. And it just makes me wonder, are those references to other styles or other sounds, is that intentional, or is that just sort of a byproduct of your process when you're putting together a song?
Oh no, like there's definitely been influences from that EP coming from everywhere. Like the most prominent one being Mr. Carmack. Like you can tell. Well, the 1/16th note style that I use, that's like heard throughout the EP, is from Mr. Carmack.
Wait, what do you mean, for people who might not know, what do you mean by 1/16th style?
Basically, this kind of rhythm, this dun 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 dun, that kind of, I don't know how to simplify it anymore.
Yeah.
It's that kind of rhythm that I really enjoy making that. And there's another song on the EP, Falling For You. That's basically me discovering, I don't know his name properly, Burial.
Oh yeah. You got it.
That's me. That's me discovering Burial for the first time. And honestly, my mind has been blown, because it's Archangel. yeah, like a few months ago heard that track for the first time, and I have heard a lot of garage tracks such as that one, but not ones that are like Archangel. It's very there's a dark, like a very definitive dark vibe to it that I really like. And it feels very cinematic because the artist Burial sampled a song from Metal Gear Solid, and it was really, really well done. I still want to know like what there's like these repeating vocals in the track that just keep going and going, and I stole that, put it in that track, and that was just me being all like, okay, let's try this out, let's see how it goes. And it turned out like there were failures before that track was finished, but I'm very happy that I managed to make a breakthrough, because I could never get the garage rhythm right. It's very swingy. You can tell it's very swingy. There's a lot of percussions, and it's just very, very off grid.
Yeah.
And, it's requires a very, very open mind to understand those kinds of rhythms.
It's a very UK sound. I mean, nowhere else really has that. That's something I think the UK can really claim as its own is that garage sound, and that rhythm. I remember the first time I heard that. There's nothing else like that.
No, there isn't. Funny enough, I'm not really into UK electronic music. Like I've just always had an eye for like the US type of electronic music, because like all the genres that people listen to over here, like grime. If you talk to someone here about electronic music, they will immediately think house, drum and bass. I like house and drum and bass, but not. I don't know. It just feels flat. But I feel like to truly enjoy like the style. Like I can appreciate the rhythms of all the genres that they make over here, but when it comes down to the vibe of the track, I can't lie. I have not really had a close connection with UK culture. I'm like dipping my toes in all sorts of places, but mostly the US. But
right.
Yeah, I just never developed a connection to the culture. Therefore, I just don't fuck with the rhythm that much.
Yeah,
but like,
which is interesting.
Sorry, not the rhythm, the vibe.
Yeah. I think I know what you mean. I mean, which is interesting because like dance music and electronic music in the UK is such a strong culture. It's interesting that you never sort of intersected with that since you've been here.
No, definitely not. I don't know, just never, just couldn't. I don't know. I could go to a show and listen to, UK drum and bass, like the roller stuff and the, just all that kind of thing. And I would focus more on like how it's mixed, because it feels to me like the stuff that is popular that everyone knows in the UK drum and bass scene or grime or whatever, it just feels flat. I'm really just, I like well thought out, professionally mixed tracks that are completely different, like the kind of professional mixing that Koan sound would have, but that in mixed with the UK vibe. That's what I'm more into.
Sure.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think I know what you're saying. I mean, it's interesting because I've never actually really thought about the differences in engineering between the UK and the US. But I think you might be right that maybe the US has sort of pioneered some sort of wilder kinds of engineering in the last few years, where it's maybe a little more experimental. Maybe some of it is like wrong, quote unquote, but it gets some really interesting results. I mean, to bring it back to dubstep, which the US has fully just put a flag in at this point. I mean, that's,
Yeah.
there's some crazy mixing and engineering going on in dubstep, regardless of what you think of the current state of the sound of the scene. The engineering of it is just wild right now.
Yeah, it's definitely evolved into just this crazy, like, I don't know what's next after this current evolution, because it feels like everyone's just going for like a lot of high-pitched noises.
Yeah.
Like, man, I don't know what example to give, but this emergence of like underground rhythm, or everything they put out on, like, have you heard of a label called Halcyon?
Oh yeah, of course. Shout out to Ulasal, yeah.
Yeah, Ulasal is sick, man. I love his stuff. And the label, like, it's a great label. The aesthetic and like all the artists that have been featured and all the sounds that they're putting out. It's just been interesting to see how much dubstep has like evolved from basic, like I think they used to do like really basic sounds and plug in like massive, and then now it's just like Serum, and there's all these bunch of software plugins coming out that are just evolving dubstep a lot more. I'm excited to see like what it's going to be in a few more years, but I really like the direction that the US has taken the sound of dubstep so far.
Yeah, it's interesting, man. Well, I mean, why did you, this is sort of a dumb question, but why did you end up making the style of music that you make? If you're listening to all these different styles and being inspired by a bunch of different sounds, what's the path to get to your sound in 2021? Why did it end up sounding the way that it did?
Honestly, I can say I don't know, but like I do know at the same time. All this style is just a manifestation of myself, I guess. It's just me doing what an artist is supposed to do. They're not supposed to be like, put in a box. You have to try all sorts of different things, even if it's like I really admire avant-garde artists, because they could just make a bunch of white noisy just crazy sounds and call that music and get a prize for it or something. But I think just to get my sound has stemmed a lot from like just how my life has gone, really. I don't know. When I sit down, I don't really like tell myself, okay, this is what this song is going to sound like. This is the theme I'm going for in this track. It's kind of like when I sit down and start producing, it's as if I'm being controlled by something else, like flow state, basically. Like I just get into the flow and just make whatever I led to make by like whatever is leading my hands to do what it does. But like, I can't really like give a formula like how this is how I'm doing this is how I'm doing that. It's just purely just doing in music. Like that's what music is all about.
Sure. Yeah, I completely agree with you. So two things in what you just said. First is that I think maybe a more intelligent way I could have asked that question is, was there any point for you, maybe earlier on as well, where you thought, man, I really want to be a part of this scene or this sound where, as opposed to sort of being in that flow state, you were more, trying to fit in with something or trying to be a part of something, as opposed to, really just letting the creativity take you wherever it takes you?
If I'm being honest, it's almost as if, so like this musical journey has been, I want to build a chair. Oh shit, I built a closet. That's what it feels like, honestly, because there was some goals, like, obviously I wanted to be like, I want to get this many followers on SoundCloud, or I want to have this many fans on so and so a platform, but there was no I want to aim for that particular scene or go for this label or be like this person. Like maybe I want to be like Skrillex, but I don't. Okay, the more that I get into the music industry and just know like how people navigate this crazy industry themselves, it just my goals start to like just kind of humble, just go down a bit. Just my initial thing was become famous, but now it's just make it a career.
Yeah.
yet stay as low key as you possibly can, basically.
Well, yeah. So, I mean, that raises the question, right, of sort of what have you thought about sort of what the end goal is now in 2021? Like, what part of it is the most enjoyable, is the most fun for you? Are there things you haven't gotten to do yet that you can't wait to do?
I'm probably just scratching the tip of the iceberg with music at this point and what I want my goals to be. And yeah, of course, there's so many things I want to do. Like, believe it or not, I've never had a session with someone. I've never sat in a studio and been like, just sat down with someone and worked. Maybe in someone's bedroom studio, like my friends who plays guitar or something, but not like, there's never been a time where my management team gets in touch with this other artist management team and they're like, let's organize a session with both of our artists and see what happens. Never done that before. And that's something I really want to do with artists that I aspire to work with and artists that inspire me, and to, just make friends along the way.
Have you been to the US?
No.
Yeah.
I've been to Canada.
Okay.
But the US, no. And yeah, traveling is definitely on that list. Like, just traveling and seeing different places, seeing different cultures, meeting different people. It kind of sucks that I probably would have been doing that this past year if it wasn't for the pandemic. Yeah. But hopefully things are looking a bit more hopeful with the COVID situation. I actually found out today that my dad took a vaccine, so that was
that's great.
Some good news.
That's great.
So yeah, it seems like things will be much better like towards the end of this year. So there's things I want to do, and there's things that I don't know about yet that I will probably want to do once I find out what they are.
Right. What were you doing in Canada? Did you play a show out there?
Yeah, I actually, okay. That was my first ever live performance, actually.
Oh, wow. First ever show was in Canada.
The very first show, yeah. Which is like, I wasn't expecting to like get there that fast. It was me opening for Robotalkie. And also that was me meeting with my manager for the very first time. So it was a really eye-opening time for me, and I got to learn a lot of things. Like, for example, I didn't know they speak French in Montreal. That was one thing that surprised me. Like, I pulled up at the airport. Everyone was speaking French. I was very confused. I was like, I'm in the right country, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they got a little attitude about it too.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Honestly, I can't tell you I probably could. I can't think of the things I want to do that are like, goals. But like maybe one of the biggest things for me as an artist, because I've just grown up to be one of those people that's just searching for a really good cathartic release of creative energy, something.
Yep.
And I'm hoping that one day I write one of those timeless albums that just shifts an entire culture of music and inspires. Like, of course, okay, maybe it's a really, really tough thing to do, just to appeal to musicians and creatives in general to like shift a genre and make it popular like the way Skrillex did. That's what I want to do. But, it's probably good to start small and then work my way up.
Yeah.
For
100%.
for now, I should just put as much time and effort into what I make and just see what happens. That's what it's been for me. It's been, I can say that my music career has been like a game to me. Like once I get this, then I'll get this. Once I get that, then I'll get this, and so on. Like I used to tell myself, oh, once I get to 10K followers on SoundCloud, maybe I'll get to play shows, and it actually happened.
Right.
And it's always crazy to know that I actually did that, and we're here. I'm in a state of now there is a launch pad to go wherever, but then I'm not exactly sure where I'm jumping to.
That's actually a great way to put it, because I think that's a very relatable feeling. I think a lot of people hearing that will know exactly what you're talking about. It's interesting, man, because this last year, the pandemic and all of that, I can imagine it's a frustrating time when you're an artist with some buzz, where it seemed like things were in motion and then all those things have to be delayed. Has there been any positive things that have come out of this for you?
I'm not sure.
Let me give you one and you tell me if it sounds accurate, because to me, the music that you make, I think, fits this moment really well. I think, it's moody music, it's introspective, it's music that you can listen to in a lot of different situations. And I think a lot of people this year, I don't know, I think you wrote music that fit this moment, even if you weren't intending to do that, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I was really not intending to. That's just how I express myself through writing music. Like, it's not intentionally. I'm not trying to hit a certain emotion. Just do it to see what happens. Because it's interesting to see how people interpret what I make differently. Like, it's when I make one thing and then I intended it to be this. Like, people just spin it in their own way. Like, for example, there is a song on my EP called Grateful.
Yeah.
And I do this thing at the start of the song where my brother is like saying this quote. And without thinking, I pitched the vocal up at the start. And then as he's saying that, the vocal goes lower in tone. And then someone's like, oh shit, that's really cool. It's like he's actually getting, like, what he said was, everything was cool when I was like 7 years old, but everything is lame now. You got to do stuff. And then it sounds like he's young, like he's a kid, and then he becomes an adult. And like, I didn't notice that. I just did that because it sounded cool. So yeah, it was interesting to see, people interpret this new release. And, it was also like, it was a really nice breath of fresh air, because like I haven't released music last past year. I've not released anything. And it was mostly to do with the message in the EP, like just letting go of perfectionism, because there were just so many revisions of songs and changes I wanted to make, and just a lot of delays. Because I wanted to make changes, the label was like, okay, we'll give you a bit more time. And then when I was ready, the label's like, oh no, we can't release it right now because there's so and so. Like, I remember they said that we couldn't release it because of the election, and that was understandable. Like, that was it was
a lot going on.
Reasonable. Yeah. But all these delays were actually great, because it gave me time to like go back and polish these songs, and now it's been worth it to actually release them. And yeah.
Is perfectionism something you struggle with?
Oh, all the time. When I started making music, I wasn't really thinking of many things like every other producer does. Like, if you if you don't know what you're doing and you don't know what you have to do in order to get a perfect mix, then, you'll have more fun. But then once you get to a certain level, you're thinking about way too many things. You're thinking about how loud this snare has to be, how many lufts your master is up, and blah, 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 that kind of thing. And, it just kind of cripples you from making progress in just songwriting and production in general. So yeah, it's perfectionism, and just try like that goal of writing a timeless album has just been like, it's worth it. It's really great to push through that barrier of this mix is terrible, I don't want to fix it right now, I should just give up. It's very tough to do that. It's tough to trust the process sometimes, but once you do, like, I've had a lot of moments where I've, done that, and I realized that this is exactly why I do this in the first place. It's for this exact problem solving right here that I've overcome it. It's like, it's like what can I give an example of?
I mean, it's like another game in a way, right? Like you beat the boss level.
Yeah. Getting past that tough level is just it's always a good feeling at the end.
Well, how do you decide then, what goes into a body of work when a body of work is done? Because it's interesting, you talk about you haven't put out music much recently, and throughout your whole career, it's been pretty evenly spaced. It's not like you're dropping a song every single night, but then you also have this secondary SoundCloud account, right? Where you're posting up lots of different fragments of songs or works in progress and demos and all that. Which is interesting if you're saying that you're a perfectionist, because then at the same time, you're also putting imperfection on display, right?
Yeah. But I'd say I spend quite a lot of time on the stuff that I put on the second account.
I'm sure.
It's not necessarily the imperfections, but it's more like tracks that I was just too lazy to finish. Just, I just said, no, it's over, let's scrap it. But, it would be a waste to just let it stay on my hard drive for that long. Just might as well let people hear it, and also for the sake of content. So,
Sure. Yeah, it's just interesting. I guess my question more goes to, how do you know what songs should go on a piece of work and what ones, aren't suitable for it, or which ones you aren't going to finish? Are there certain songs or certain groups of songs that just kind of click in your head?
So if I know that a song is finished, it will be on the following conditions. It's for at least 3 or 4 minutes long, first of all. If it is conveying a message that I want it to convey, I think one of the perfectionist problems I have is song length. Like I feel this subconscious pressure to get a song to at least 3 minutes. Otherwise, it's not a song. It's just a whip. And
interesting.
It's crippling, honestly. Like just trying to come up with a second drop, a second chorus. It's a tough challenge. I feel like when I know a song is done, I will know that if the mix is where I want it to be, if the songwriting and the arrangement is where I want it to be, then that's how I know. That's how I know that it's done, and can forget about it now. Or it's when I feel very proud of an idea. That's when I know it's ready to be wrapped up and sent out to the world, and
sure,
people can do with it what they want to do.
I love that, man, and I think that comes through. It's, again, that to me goes back to sort of the flow state you were talking about before, where sometimes it's not even necessarily your decision, right? It's just you listen to it and it either is something or it isn't something.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. which is interesting. I mean, not to get too deep or philosophical, but with the flow state, you were talking that when it's at its best, it's almost like it's not even you writing the song or making the choices. Have you ever dug into that? Do you have any, like, is that a religious thing to you? Are you a spiritual person that way? Have you ever thought about like what that is?
Honestly, I don't know. I'm not. I think if I was to be spiritual, it would just be a bit of influence from my parents to be, believing that there are things in the world that can influence and control like all your decision making and whatnot. But honestly, I'm not that much of a spiritual person, or at least I used to be, but now I'm just like, I'm questioning it. I'm questioning it a lot. But yeah, I really would love to know the science behind like just because when I'm just stuck in a track and just making it, I don't feel like I am the one consciously making that track. It just feels like it's coming out of nowhere. Like a voice is just telling me, oh, put this here, put this there, and whatnot. And I mean, it's not necessarily a voice; it's a feeling.
Right.
It's like a gut feeling that I have. Like, oh, I should do this so that this sounds like this. Because my knowledge of production is procedural. It's not. I wouldn't be able to write down the exact. Maybe I could, but I wouldn't be able to write down the exact steps to show someone how to arrange the flow of a song like this or that or anything like that. It will just be, I have to be hands-on and then just let that voice or whatever, or the flow state, just take control and,
Yeah, it's interesting, man, because I'm similar to you, and listeners have heard me say this before, but I was born Jewish. I was never very religious, and I don't consider myself to be a very spiritual person. But over the years, to me, music is sort of the only argument I can accept for spirituality, and that there are things that I don't understand or don't control. And it's just a weird thing to come to over time, because it really is undeniable. I think all the best songs that we make are the songs where you sit back and you go, I don't know how I made that, right?
That's happened a lot. Like, I'll just open an old whip. I'm like, how the fuck? Even if I open the project itself and just look at I'm like, what am I doing here? Right. What am I doing with this sound? How did I get here? How did I make this choice? Like, it's just never something I can recreate,
Sure. Yeah. Do you have any interest in working in other forms of music? I mean, you talked about, you used to listen to video game soundtracks, and I think a lot of your music has a very cinematic quality to it. Is that an eventual goal, maybe, to do something, video games, music, whatever it is, animation?
It is. That's one of my goals, is to score the game soundtrack of a film or a video game, mostly a video game, because I would want to design the sounds as well. Like, I love doing sound design for these kinds of things. I'm working on a Splice sample pack right now. Like, it's going to be out on Splice soon. It has all these little sci-fi sounds that I made, all these robotic sounds that I made from scratch, like sampling things around the house or doing synthesis. And like, I guess people will have to hear them when they come out, but I'm really proud of those. And I've started making a massive library of just all these robotic sounds, these organic sounds that I put together and use in my songs. Like, you notice in my song Grateful that there is this video gamey aspect to it, and you can notice all these like tiny sparkly sound effects, and it kind of sounds like something straight out of an anime.
Right.
I love anime. Like, I love observing the sound design in anime because it's very interesting. It's very mysterious, and that's the kind of field that I would like to get into someday. It's just making sounds for, animated films, TV shows, video games, even, I don't know, commercials as well. Like I would like to
Sure.
get into any of that stuff, or be involved with the graphic side of it, because I have always taken a creative career path in like my academics. I've always like I did animation in university. Before that, I did games design, and then uni, animation, college, games design, and before that, in high school, I used to do creative media, which is basically TV, radio, film, etc., like just all sorts of mixed media. And it would be cool to just get in on that. Like if there's any game companies that would be willing to let me design a sound for them, I would be able to do that. I've actually started doing that myself already. Like there is this VR chat alternative called Neos. It's like Ready Player One level already, but like it's very well optimized, and you can do anything and change anything inside the game. Like you can go in, you can actually do visual scripting in the game. And I've only just recently gotten into it, but you can create your own world. I started doing that, and I sound designed the sounds in that world.
Nice
as well. Like it was really interesting to see. Like I mean, it's not that great, but like just adding the sounds to it just made it come alive. And I've had like people like just come in, see it, like, did you like, where are these sounds coming from? Like, oh, I just made them myself. Like, yeah. And they tend to be like surprised, like, oh shit. And then someone actually hit me up like asking to make them sounds, and I haven't done that yet, but hopefully I'll help them out soon.
Yeah, man. But, I mean, that's so cool to think about, because it's those little touches, I think, that go such a long way. Even if, it could be anything. It could be your future live show. It could be some future music video, whatever it is, I think it's thinking about those little elements that really makes it, it imbues your personality into whatever the piece of work is, right? Even if it is just some tiny sound that somebody's not going to really process except subconsciously. I think it's all about those little details. I think the same thing could be said of your music too.
Yeah. I really just want to make something that sounds fun. And I'm really like inspired to make someone feel a certain way, like mostly happy, because I just want to be known as someone that has just changed someone's life because of something I made. And I think that's what every creator's goal is. But like, and I do get people telling me stuff like, oh, your music has changed my life and blah, blah, blah. So not only do I want to, get into the industry and make my way around it, I also want to impact people's lives, people's souls. And that sounds cringy, but
no, man, I think I know exactly what you mean. And that's not, I don't think you should be ashamed of that goal. I think, like you said, a lot of people have that goal and it's very respectable. But what's funny to me is I think that goal happens in so many unexpected ways. And you never get there the way you think you're going to get there, right? Like for me, you were talking about the new Splice Pack you're working about. And of course, that made me think about your old Splice Pack, which the sound from that ended up in a Justin Bieber song, right? And I know this sounds crazy, but that song, I'm sure, ended up affecting a ton of people's lives. Millions of people listened to it, and it's based off of something that you made. So it's like sometimes you don't always know how you're going to get there, but I feel like if that's your intention, it ends up working out in kind of unexpected ways.
Yeah. Right now it's hard to see the scope of like how far my music and art is reaching people, because you're looking through a screen, you can only see numbers, but you don't actually see like the actual real life reaction of people And I really, really would love to like just see more people like reacting to something that I made, whether it's in the form of a live show or if it's someone just messaging me on Twitter saying, oh, I listened to your track and it's done this, it's gotten me through a bad time. It makes me feel less anxious and safe and blah, blah, blah. Overall, I'm just saying like, I want to impact and change someone's life with what I make. And I'm glad that I'm already seeing evidence of this. But, going back to like the fact that I've not played many shows or been to many shows or gotten to connect with like-minded people in real life, I just hope that I get to do more of that. And, people give back to me eventually.
Well, you'll get that, man. I think that is almost certainly going to happen. And anyone listening to this, send them a message, let them know.
Always down to talk. I try to respond to everyone. I do.
No, that's good, man. That's good. That's hard to do at a certain point. I wanted to ask you just before we get out of here. That Bieber thing was so funny the way it happened, and I'm sure it was a wild experience for you at the time. And I know you've talked about it a bunch, but looking back on it now, did it change anything for you? Do you look back on it? Did it change the way you think about what the potential of your music could be, or what projects you might want to work on? It's just such a wild kind of random occurrence. I'm just curious if it is still kind of a random thing to you, or if it ended up being meaningful in some way.
It did strike me as a surprise in the sense of, I didn't know I would have been capable of crossing paths with someone as big as Bieber. Like, if I can give an example to someone else that this happened to, like Ikali, the way his song got used in a Drake song. Like, I don't know if that's the same thing here, but I'm just now known as, the unknown producer that got onto a Bieber record. That's
for better or for worse.
All unknown. Yeah. Like, I can't say like, oh, there have been like some opportunities here and there that have come out of it, but the whole occurrence was just it was surreal for me. Like, I was anxious that entire week.
Oh, I'm sure.
Just trying to figure out like, oh my God, what's gonna happen after this? Am I gonna peak? Is Bieber gonna like hit me up or something? And like, he did respond on Twitter, which was like that was like the cherry on top of everything. Like, it was just a nice way to wrap up all the commotion that started. But
do you have interest in producing for other people? Would you want to, whether it's pop or not, is that something that interests you?
It is something that interests me, but it depends. If we're talking like happening in the same room, or is it a situation where I send a couple of instrumentals over and, they see what they can do with it type thing. If it was meeting all these artists to work with them, I think I'm still getting the hang of collaborating with people in real life. I know that it takes a certain level of communication skills to portray ideas to one another that make sense, like, and make sure that you get to a point with the person that you're working with where you agree with each other's methods and you agree with each other's workflow and like what your mindset is during that collaboration, and just chemistry in general. Like, chemistry between two people collaborating on a project is very important. And there's all sorts of people on this earth, and they're all different, and you have to learn how to fit into their life somehow. Sometimes you might burn bridges. Other times you will find lifelong friends that will stay with you forever. It's a mixture of both. But I get anxious around people that I don't know at all. So that's gonna be something to work on. Just I just want to be able to, just meet anyone and instantly, I mean, sometimes you won't, but instantly just get along with them and, work well with them, and just hoping that your talents merge together in order to, just make something amazing.
Awesome, man. Well, I mean, before we do get out of here, is there anything we didn't cover? Anything you're working on? Anything you want to let people know about before we call it quits?
Not much. Maybe my next Spice sample pack. Like, that's something that's been in the works, and people have liked the old pack, and I'm just very excited to roll this one out because after learning a thing or two in the last pack, it's helped me improve a lot, and it's helped me just take this pack to the next level. Yeah, I'm pretty sure people will like the sample pack. I'm also working on some show stuff and a couple of remixes here and there. I'm not allowed to talk about those, but people can expect some more music from me in this coming year.
That's great, man. Well, thank you for taking the time to do this, man. I really like talking to you.
No worries. It was great. It was honestly fun.
Good, man. I'm glad. Good luck on everything, man. And hopefully you can make it over to the States soon.
Oh, dude, I really would love to come to the States.
Yeah.
Hope I get there.
It'll happen. But
definitely,
I'm looking forward to it as well, sir.
Yeah, you have a nice day.
You too, buddy.
All right, man. Take it easy.
Yeah, you too. Take care. Bye, man.
All right. Bye.
All right, that's the show. Shout out to Laxcity. Great to have you on, man. For everybody out there listening, I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. Don't forget, Laxcity's new EP, the Disconnect EP, it is out right now. You can also head over to the Brownies and Lemonade YouTube channel if you want to replay his beat smash that he did with More Kismet last week. There's a lot of unreleased Laxcity heat in there. I was scanning through it. It is crazy as always. My name is Willy Joy. You can follow me as well at Willy Joy or at BackToBackPod on all social media. BackToBackPod@gmail.com is the email address. And if you are hanging out in the show notes in the description of this episode, you'll find a link where you can go follow Laxcity, and you will also find a link to come join the Back to Back Discord. Come join the Discord. Come say what up to me. I will say what up back. You'll meet some great people. We'll have some great talks. Someone will tell you how to fix that snare on your song. You know, the snare, the one you just can't figure out no matter how many layers you keep adding on top of it. And then we'll all be best friends for the rest of time. That's how it works. I hope everybody out there is doing well. I hope you're doing all right. I hope your family and friends are healthy and happy. I hope people in your life are starting to get vaccinated. Maybe you are too. Who knows? If you have gotten your vaccine already, shout out to you. I've got some people in my life who have already gotten it, some more who have appointments. And man, I cannot wait to be at the top of that list. It's going to be a good day. Festival's getting announced for later this year. I mean, if we can just hold out, keep wearing your mask, keep social distancing, washing your hands, don't go out to shit yet. It's not time to do that yet. I know shit is opening back up, but just hold out a little bit longer. We know it's not quite safe yet, but hopefully it will be soon. And once it is, man, I am excited to start seeing you guys back out in the real world. So let's leave it on a hopeful note for this week. I'm sending much love to everybody out there, sending you support, sending you success. If you're struggling with something, going through it right now, I feel you. I'm sorry that's happening right now, but it will get better. And you can always reach out to me if you need anything. I'm around. So that's it. I hope you all have a great week. Lots more great episodes coming for you very soon. Take care of yourselves. Take care of the people around you. I'll talk to you next Tuesday. For Back to Back, this is Willy Joy. Peace.